Hello, I'm James, and I'm an old guy in Europe. Hello, and welcome to another episode of An Old Guy in Europe. This week on the Good Morning Portugal Show with Carl Munson from October of 2022, we talk about rites of passage, ceremonies, celebrations, and moving to Portugal. So I invite you to please sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Swing! Oh, it should be. I should actually bring him. Normally, what I do with that is actually bring him onto the screen, which could be quite polite of me to do.
There,
Hello,
there.
there you are. Were you wondering where you were this morning? You're on the show, James. How you doing?
I made it. I finally made it.
Yeah, sorry. I've had a bulging mailbag this morning. There was a lot to get through.
Yeah, gotta watch those bulging bags.
You got to watch those bulging bags, and yes, just anyway, let's move on from that, shall we? How are you? Because I'm so sorry I compromised your time a little bit, but there was so much to share this morning. Incredible. I saw you looking at that cruise liner. Have you ever been on a bumper car on a cruise liner, James?
It was the bumper cars. My first thought were those are the slowest damn bumper cars I've ever seen in my life. And then I noticed no one was bumping into anybody. And then I noticed they were all seniors. And I lost it. I just said, that is it. That is the ultimate stereotype. Slow bumper cars.
They must be wondering to themselves, okay, we've got the swimming pool, the jacuzzi, the helipad, 27 different restaurants, a shopping mall. What can we put on here next to make it the best cruise liner ever? I know, bumper cars, but we can't have these oldies bumping into each other in case they get hospitalized. So they're not allowed to crash into each other, I suspect.
We'll give them lots of room and no speed.
Lots of room and no speed. Sounds like oh no, maybe not. Okay, so what's been on your mind recently?
Well, first of all, I wanted to say congratulations on our 25th episode of Thoughts from the Redwoods.
Is that right?
Where
did they go? My goodness.
Yes. 25 times we've done this.
Wow. It doesn't seem a day too long.
And it kind of fits in. I'm realizing this week and next week are great opportunities to look at transitions and celebrations. So I woke up this morning with that thought and managed to put a whole stream of things together that are probably not going to fit in the time that we have. But I do want to talk a little bit about transitions, moving from one thing to another. Is how I define it. And how if we choose to acknowledge that transition, I realize that's what we call a ceremony or a ritual or rite of passage, that we're saying goodbye to one thing and hello to whatever's next. So a ceremony is an intentional act of acknowledging that movement from one thing to the next. So I was looking at, all right, well, so what are some examples of ceremonies? And some of the obvious ones are birth and graduation, marriage, retirement, and even
first drink in a bar.
I missed that. What?
First drink in a bar. That's what we've come to in our culture, isn't it?
Or last.
Don't know that one, but sorry, go on.
Here's to my final drink.
It's been great. Yes.
So my train of thought, I was going to say, even the end of life, which can be a very sad and somber event, we obviously have ceremony to acknowledge the end of that life and then the movement into whatever we believe happens next. So that got me curious about things we don't tend to have ceremonies for, because life is about transitions. We're nearly constantly changing from one thing to the next. So obviously we can't have a ceremony for, ending the night and starting the morning, every day. I guess we could have rituals around that. I
Breakfast.
do, but
Yes,
it's not,
yes.
uh, it just doesn't feel formal, I guess, is the main thing. So some of the things that I looked at, what do we not tend to acknowledge that are fairly significant events in our life? And some examples of that would be like a job promotion. Very often we don't have a ceremony, we just get promoted. It's like, okay, Bob, you're assistant
Bob.
vice now, whatever. Or even leaving a job. We don't have a ceremony for that. We're moving from one job to another job, but there's no real acknowledgement. And that's another thing. A ceremony is an acknowledgement of this movement. So we tend not to acknowledge that. We tend, for the most part, we don't have any formal ceremony for passage from childhood into adulthood, with the exception of some religions. They have those ceremonies. And then in particular, for some reason, it occurred to me, we don't tend to have ceremonies for moving from one location to another, especially when it's one leaving one's country of origin to another country. And that's what many of us here have done. Many are looking to do, and some are curious about what that might look like. So I thought, well, it might be a good idea what I would like to do is offer a brief ceremony to all of those people that I just talked about, including you and I, with a brief ceremony that I put together just this morning. I'm going to read it.
Do it now.
Right now,
Because
just very briefly.
Before you do, I'm all for it. No, don't get me wrong, but I would like to add to that. And we talked about this with Cindy B. I remember, because Cindy B is a celebrant.
Okay.
Yeah, very sedate bumper cars. Yes, the messages are coming in about those bumper cars. Now, yes, Cindy B is a celebrant, and does do ceremonies for all sorts of occasions, many of which you've described there. But one you put, did you mention it? I might have been distracted, but the one we're all about here, which is a ceremony to mark moving from the old country to the new. There is nothing that I'm aware of. I mean, people might have their first pastel de nata or open a bottle of champagne or something, but we could do that a whole lot better, couldn't we, than we currently do?
Yeah, well, part of the reason, and I forgot this part about the things we tend not to have ceremonies for, is that generally it's the goodbye part of the ceremony, saying goodbye to the thing we're leaving, and most of us are not comfortable with it. We don't like saying goodbye. There's pain, there's loss, there's things in that goodbye often that so we avoid it. And old friendships, for instance, they just kind of fade away. We don't say goodbye. We don't acknowledge the truth of the fact that if I'm leaving, truth is we may never see or talk to each other again, if we're going to be honest, because part of what's made this possible is the convenience of working in the same place every day, or being, I had a former girlfriend of mine said, 90% of relationship or friendship or relationship is proximity. And I thought it was kind of funny, but it was true.
She was obviously a romantic, James. A keeper.
Yes, very romantic. But that's a line that has stuck with me ever since, because I have left jobs. I say, oh, we'll keep in touch. And inside, my honest self says, probably not. But okay, see you soon, whatever. But it's sort of an empty, it's not a promise. It's just, we don't want to say goodbye. We don't want to give the hug and say, chances are we're never going to see each other again. And that's the reality of life, unless we make it intentional. There are those people that say, I don't want to stop being friends, even though we're not in the same place frequently. I'm going to make sure I reach out to you. We're going to, have phone calls or video chats or whatever. But we tend not to have ceremonies in those places, because I think because we don't like the goodbye portion of it.
I think you're right. Yes, I think that's a really good observation, but that's not a good reason necessarily not to do it, is it? And that's why elders, I think, are important in this role, often the upholders of ritual and rites of passage, because they know that people don't necessarily want to do these things. You know, like a lot of people, well, let's just live together. We don't need to get married. Let's just have a drink and let's not make a big deal and all these sorts of things. But elders, I think, know that once you put people through a ritual, you actually then summon up some of the other sides of things that you wouldn't ordinarily and immediately think of as benefits. So I think that's why rituals, I think, and rites of passage is so important. Which it
Yes.
sounds like you're about to take us through now. So what are we doing? Have we got a general ritual here right now? Or is
Well,
this
I don't know about
particular?
a general ritual. I got inspired. I was just going and going and going. Like I said, I didn't wake up with this idea. And so when I got my coffee, I sat down and said, what am I going to talk about today? It's like this is all came from that 15 minutes of looking inside and seeing what was authentic and real and in the moment.
Yes.
So then I thought, well, a ceremony doesn't have to be a big formal, $80,000 3-day festival, or whatever. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn out sort of thing. It can just be simply an acknowledgement. And so
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to do here, to
Okay.
acknowledge. And if I'll just go into what I wrote because I
Please
don't
do,
think I can
please do.
remember.
Okay, everybody, here we go. If we could have your attention, please. This can be applied then, can it, to
Yeah,
the
and I
moving and
invite everyone
transition?
to take it in, to really feel it, and to, whatever parts may resonate with you, to acknowledge that, because
My
that's
parts are resonating already, James.
there we go. That's what ceremony is, an acknowledgement of moving from one thing to the next. So, a brief ceremony for those who have chosen to move to Portugal or wherever they choose, wherever that is. Doesn't have to be Portugal. Acknowledging the challenge, effort, even courage, the willingness to dream and take action toward that dream, and the commitment to accomplish that dream. You have done well. Here's wishing you love, joy, and peace in your new life and always.
Oh, thank you very much for that. That's beautiful. And as Pamela said here, look, when I worked for a refugee charity, we used to have welcome parties when a new group arrived. That's really lovely. But actually, it was this part of the comment that I was interested in, Pam, as well. I had leaving parties from most jobs and for leaving the old country, but not mark the arrival at the new ones. So this is something we can do. Another angle on it here. Lovely subject this morning, James. Well done. My friends treat this is Jean who's making her way to Portugal. My friends treat me like I have a terminal disease. I felt like I'm walking on my own grave since I got back. And that's the anticipation, I suppose, isn't it? And that might be there. Those sorts of things might be there and even develop if they're not talked about, which, as you say, James, we might not talk about because it's too awkward to do.
And I
Somebody who
think
didn't
it's
like,
another
sorry, go on.
sign of reluctance to say goodbye,
Yes, yeah.
that kind of
Well, look
thing.
at this. Jess's mother-in-law would never say goodbye when she left. We'd be socialized to have a good time. And a minute later, she's just ghosted. That's bizarre, isn't it? But you can understand why with all that we've said this morning. Oh, and bon dia, by the way, from Pam too. Joao F, terminal disease. Yes, the terminal disease of the leaving of the United States coming over to Portugal is the metaphor that's being used there. Yeah, like when I move to Portugal, I'll be gone forever. That's very sobering, and it's so good that we're talking about it this morning. Thank you, James, for that. Part of my ceremony for leaving here will be to give a salute to the life I leave behind. I'm just torn between one or two fingers.
Try both, one on
You
each
say
hand.
that now. You say that now, Darren, and I understand that sort of hubris. But there are times when you miss the old place, and you don't know what you're going to miss. That's the thing, isn't it? Here's another ritual in the morning.
Hands, two
Yes,
hands.
jazz hands at the old place. I celebrate with a ceremony every morning when I wake up. I won't go into the details, but it involves porcelain. Okay, thank
Awesome.
you for that, T Duck, lowering the tone there. Well, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us, James. Are you going to stick around? Because Gilda might, given that she deals with so many people moving into the country, she might be aware of some of the ways people have celebrated doing that. And some of them,
Well,
well, I'm sure will have involved her as well with a bottle of champagne at least.
I do have another brief ceremony, because it was made public, at least on Facebook, I saw, and that has to do with a transition, which is the
Oh,
topic that I'm speaking to today, and
Yeah.
that's the transition this show is making from expats to
Indeed.
Portugal.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Good
Yeah.
Morning Portugal breakfast show. So I thought, what a perfect opportunity to have a ceremony. So I have another brief ceremony for that particular specific, if you don't
Can I
mind.
give the context for that in case people don't know what's happening? This is the last week of the Expats Portugal show,
Yes.
as you see it, as is branded on the screen there. And a week today, we will be back to the old independent, you could say original Good Morning Portugal show. So that'll be
New
me
and
launching
improved.
new, new and improved. That's what we need to put on the packaging, isn't it? New, improved. Some of the old flavors, but with some added new
But
special ingredients.
better.
Of course, better. Change is good. Right, James, go on, over to you then. Thank you for doing this. I wasn't expecting this morning.
Oh, my pleasure. Here's to Carl Munson, who had a dream to create a safe, honest, informative, and fun place for people who shared the interest of loving Portugal and helping them to know it better and to help them on their journey to come here, to create their dream of being here. And here's to all of us who join Carl in this dream, the glorious conspiracy we call the Riot of Gumpers. Well done. Here's to the continuation and further realization of that dream in this new Good Morning Portugal breakfast show. May we all know love, joy, and peace always. And then I have a quote from a well-known, in the words of the great Carl Munson, we are here on this earth to reveal and revel in our glorious human potential.
Did I say that?
You did say that.
Well, thank you for that, James. That's really beautiful. Thank you so much. A round of applause for you.